under Marcus Freeman, they are 33-9. They're 4-1 in bowl games, and they're 3-1 in the college football playoffs. Obviously, this year being the first year with the college football playoffs. He's been there since 2021. Obviously, he's had success. I know you guys talk a lot about Notre Dame and with them being in the independent and everything, so their strength of schedule really isn't there. But I mean, where do we go from here? Can they bring this back? Can they bring this full circle and get back into the dance next year, or is it? Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Beard Zone Sports Talk. My name is David. I got Carlos and Scooter with me tonight. And gentlemen, we can officially crown a national champion of the college football, and that is the Ohio State Buckeyes. They gave it to Notre Dame all night long. And it was pretty one-sided. We kind of talked about this last week. We didn't really know how Notre Dame was going to be able to slow down that offense. But we'll get into all of those details. But before we do, please do us a favor. Continue to hit that like button, subscribe button, and share this video with all of your family and friends. We appreciate all the growth that we have been seeing this college football season. And we're still going to be here after the college football season. We got transfer portal. We got the draft coming up here in just a couple of short months. So please stay with us this offseason because we will continue to bring content. But gentlemen, national championship, Ohio State Buckeyes. Are we surprised are we surprised with the outcome when we saw the final two teams, or the writing was pretty much on the wall, right?
Yeah. I mean, I saw Ohio State more than likely winning this game, even though I chose Notre Dame. And Ohio State really took the Marvin Gaye song "Let's Get It On" quite literally. That's what we saw in the first half, and then they closed it out in the fourth quarter with a deep ball to Jeremiah Smith. Man, you can say what you will about the reffing and everything else. I thought it was relatively even, and they just got outplayed. Notre Dame couldn't move the ball; they couldn't stop the pass, regardless of who was trying to catch it. And Jeremiah Smith, I think, 50 or 40-yard bomb when they could have made a stop. They fumbled it, man.
Yeah.
It sucks to see. Notre Dame somehow squeaked one out with their, Sharpie drawn on beard head coach, but it is what it is at this point.
Who was that made that comment? Or at least my coach doesn't.
Shane Gillis.
Shane Gillis. Yeah, Shane Gillis. He's my coach's beard's not Sharpie on. Me and Dave were watching the game, and I thought Notre Dame did the right thing when they came out, and then they hit that where Ohio State was doing their thing, but we saw at halftime where I felt like they should have pushed a little bit there. I think we both did with 2 timeouts and 40 seconds in college football. That might as well be 5 minutes, and Franklin just goes back to their coach takes it to the locker room, and I think that was a bad choice on their part. Riley Leonard didn't look good in the first half, and then they decided to play Greathouse in the second half because why would you throw to him in the first half? And the guy was killing it, and then they went back to the stuff that was working on that first drive. So Notre Dame just kind of, you could see at one point their head coach was just like he felt a little lost, like I'm not sure, nothing's working. Our defense has been a mainstay. Golden's not able to slow it down, but they did really well. They did a good job in the second half. I mean, they only held them to what? It was like 3 points.
3 points. Yeah.
So
they already gave up 21 though. So, and then the doink it before, was it just the end of the third quarter, the doink from the kicker? That was, I think, the nail in the coffin. They would have had way more momentum had they gotten those 3 points, and just kind of felt crushing. Like you said, Carlos, like you looked at the when they panned to the sideline, it was Marcus Freeman. He just looked dejected.
Yeah. You could see it at one point. He just like, what? I don't know what to do. And then the team kind of starts making their way back. And then it kind of, even then, he just didn't look like he had a grasp of what he wanted to do. And I don't know if he's leaving it up to the coordinators. Al Golden that defense was good all year, and it just felt like he wasn't ready for that moment as where Day was. They were, everybody keeps saying they were the best team in college football. I don't know. I mean, he still lost 2 games. You lost to Michigan, who's barely over 500. So I don't know if you're still the best team, but you're the college national football champion. So hats off to you, Ohio State fans, and yeah, I don't know. It's not, as a Miami fan, it's not the game
there
you
was
want to see.
definitely moments in that game where you just saw Notre Dame just look defeated. I mean, they were like, we've never seen this before, right? Because they've been able to stop everyone that they've been able to play, or at least make adjustments and get them back in the game. But I think we said it last week on the podcast where this is not a game that Notre Dame can get behind. Like, this is a game where they have to stay in the fight the entire time in order to actually have a true shot. Now, they did make it an interesting game there towards the end of it, but I think you're right. I think with the field goal miss, there was just so many key moments. Like, they were able to turn the ball over, but then they weren't able to score any points on that drive with the missed field goal. The 2 timeout thing before the half with 33 seconds left on the clock. I mean, give your guys a shot. This is the national championship. I mean, like, what do you have to lose? You're down 28 to, what was it, 7? So it was like, I mean, what's really going to happen? Oh, you create a turnover and they go up another score. It's like, well, I mean, at least you went down swinging, so. But I mean, hats off to Ohio State. They played a hell of a game. Will Howard played a very clean game. Didn't have anything crazy on the stat line, but he played very clean. Judkins, man, that guy went for the hat trick, got 3 touchdowns, 2 on the ground, 1 through the air. Jeremiah Smith, obviously had a couple of big plays there as well in the game, especially there in the second half. But congratulations to the Buckeyes. But what does this do for Will Howard and his draft stock? Because he's played pretty good football this entire playoff. And now he won the national championship. Like, it doesn't. So you don't think that it's added any value to him whatsoever?
I think it probably took him from maybe the 7th round to the 6th. I wouldn't draft Will Howard at all. I don't think he's going to be a good quarterback. I don't think he's a good quarterback now. He just happens to be around a stud-filled NIL team. So, and they've done a good job with recruiting. I mean, I just don't see it, or Riley Leonard, matter of fact, either of them. He's probably he probably upped his stock to somebody will take a chance for him in maybe the late 4th, 5th round, but he's a project. I just don't see Will Howard taking the world. He might be like another Will Levis, maybe a Kyle Trask. Did really well, put some good numbers up in college due to what's around him. But I don't.
Will Levis was a 1st-round pick, and Kyle Trask was a 2nd.
Yeah, and I mean, but I think that's what you're going to get out of him. I think you're gonna. He's.
Oh yeah, he was
3rd string. Yeah, like I just don't see either of those guys being NFL quarterbacks. I haven't seen enough from Will Howard all year that stands out to me that, oh man, he slings the ball around, because he even at times they say he didn't put up crazy stats for this game, but he really didn't have to either. So
no,
I just don't see.
Well,
it.
The thing about it is that the NFL is not a project league anymore. Like, this is not a league that you can go into a lot of the times, right? I mean, unless if you get lucky, and you're like a Jordan Love, or you're like a Patrick Mahomes, or hell, even a Josh Allen, where although you've been the starter the whole time, they continue to believe in you, after 2 years of kind of looking iffy. But nowadays, I mean, look at what happened with Bryce Young just this year, So, I mean, not a lot of teams are doing this whole, hey, let's get a guy for the future. Let's groom him. Let's get him into the system. Like, the NFL is a win now. And, I mean, if you're going to be a project quarterback, it's going to be hard to really sustain yourself in the NFL.
Well, if you look at Michigan is probably as close when you look at draft prospects that are going to come and go first round off Michigan's team with Will Johnson, the two defensive tackles. That's a really good defense that maybe is close to, and it's not an NFL defense by any means, but about as close you're going to get where it has NFL impact first rounders on it. And he only threw for 175 yards, and they lose that game. I mean, Oregon, he has good games, but nobody said Oregon had a good defense. They were giving up points to everybody. They just outscored everybody.
Right.
So, but if you go through even Penn State, who has a good defense, he only threw for 180 yards. So he has a 4,000 yard season. That's good. 35 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. The stat line looks good. But if you start breaking it game by game, yeah, he put up stats against the teams you would think that he would put up stats against. But when he got to those tough defenses, he didn't do anything. So I just don't. I just think he won a natty. I give it to him, but I don't think it. I still think he's a fifth rounder at best.
I would argue that he could potentially push to the fourth round, and his accuracy is the only thing saving him, honestly. Yeah, but Carlos, you're kind of right with the whole stellar team around him. And I think that echoes with previous Heisman quarterbacks and their flops. The Will Levis, the Matt Leinerts, stuff like that. Even, say, Sam Bradford, right? They came out looking like studs. And, Dave was also right. The NFL does not have the appetite nor the timeline for you to sit there and get developed. Now, with NIL, neither does college football. And that's very clear with these dudes switching around teams and all these other things and essentially just playing semi-pro football with these ridiculous contracts or at least promised money, right? And there's no appetite to actually develop the quarterback. You either show up and learn immediately or there's just hell to pay and you're just going to sit the bench and hopefully play for a secondary school or whatever. And I think that's going to be shown, unfortunately, for Miami and learning with Carson Beck. But what you see with Will Howard is he's accurate and he generally makes good decisions. He may not have the craziest strong arm, but he makes decent decisions and he does have maneuverability in the pocket and he's not dead on fast like, Mike Vick or Lamar Jackson or even, say, Josh Allen. But he does make good scrambling decisions. He doesn't really turn the ball over. I know he struggled against Michigan. He kind of struggled a little bit against Oregon in their in their first matchup, but at the same token, I think he learns from his mistakes, and that's going to end up helping his draft stock in his playoff run. And pressure is when things matter, and I think him not turning the ball over and having a really high completion rating has a couple of factors. An excellent O-line, which we've seen time and time again with Ohio State. The Midwest dudes always have those big corn-fed boys up there with a great O-line. We saw it with Bryce Young, and now look at him. So there's that transition. Then you have the talent tree within the wide receiver core and the running backs. You have 2 5-star dudes with Henderson and Judkins in your backfield, and you have an excellent complement there with your wide receiver core. And you have your true freshman who's just lighting it up like his name's Marvin Harrison Jr. Like, Ohio State might as well be the new wide receiver U. Thank you, LSU. Please step aside. OSU's taken over. And when you have the complementary factors like that, you will excel as a quarterback. You have a good O-line, even a decent O-line, and you have stellar running backs and a stellar wide receiver core and a defense that will at least keep them down to 2 touchdowns, 3 at most. And Tom Brady saw that. Mahomes has seen it. Baker saw it during his Heisman run. Hell, Quinn Ewers saw it with Texas and just couldn't finish, man. I think Howard, in the long run, probably is a 4th round at best, but that's only because of probably a developmental phase that just hasn't been tackled or will never be tackled now with NIL in the college world. And again, like Dave said, it's going to get forgotten in the NFL, like Kurt Warner and every other senior retired quarterback has said. They just don't have the appetite. And unless you're the Bills or the Steelers, maybe like a guy like Andy Reid's style has that appetite to like, okay, he has the qualities. I think we can work here. But like Dave said, I think it's more win now. That's why I say 4th round for Will Howard. I know it was a long rant, but that's just my analysis.
No, we appreciate that. Yeah, I mean, I was just curious to see. I wanted your guys' perspective on that because you guys are more college fans than I am. You guys definitely see the game a lot better than I do, so I wanted to see your take on that. But let's flip the sides really quick before we end this episode out. If you guys are still rocking with us, go ahead and hit that like and subscribe button. We appreciate that. But let's go on to Notre Dame. So under Marcus Freeman, they are 33-9. They're 4-1 in bowl games, and they're 3-1 in the college football playoffs. Obviously, this year being the first year with the college football playoffs. He's been there since 2021. Obviously, he's had success. I know you guys talk a lot about Notre Dame and with them being in the independent and everything, so their strength of schedule really isn't there. But I mean, where do we go from here? Can they bring this back? Can they bring this full circle and get back into the dance next year, or is it all doom and gloom for Notre Dame? Or is it just going to be? Are they going to be the Pittsburgh Steelers of college football, where they can get in there, they have a good head coach, but they're just never going to really win the big dance?
Oof.
That's hard.
Yeah, next year's going to be tough because depending if they're going to bring somebody else in, was Riley Leonard leaving. They do return some good players. I mean, Great House will be back. They're only losing a couple guys out of secondary. So they've got some. They'll be good next year. But I'm going to tell you right now, they start the year out 0-1 because they have to make a trip to Miami as the opener, and they ain't leaving Miami. They're not leaving Miami with a win. Miami has got the last time they got a bone to pick with them, and I think I just don't see for them. But they always have that friendlier schedule that will, they lose that game, they have a ton of time to bounce back. So we could see them. It's really just how that quarterback play is going to play out for them. So I'm not 100% sure how that's going to work for them.
And something else to consider, they're losing Irish Golden, which is their defensive coordinator. So he's going back to Cincinnati.
Yeah.
And he's obviously a big part of their success with that defense because, like we said, that defense has honestly really helped them get to where, to make it all the way to the national championship. So, but Scooter, what's your thoughts?
There's a constant fight in college sports in general. Is tradition, especially college football, is tradition versus the new transition here. The Pac-12 said screw it, and then everyone else kind of embraced it. And Notre Dame seems to be the last historic entity in this realm to say, no, I'm going to stick with it. And that may be to their fault because in honesty, they either join the Big Ten because of where they sit regionally, or they go to the ACC because that's pretty much who they play in every other sport besides football. And going to the ACC would help bolster that conference. It would harden their schedule, and it would force them to play competitive teams and still keep some of their other, rivalries with USC and Purdue and all of that. They can keep that in their off-schedule teams, depending on now if the conference wants to play 8 games, 9 games, mandatory. I think the standard is 8 games. And I think for Notre Dame's future, it makes more sense. This is the world according to Scooter here. Notre Dame makes more sense to join the ACC moving forward. I know 2025 season is not going to say that, but if it is conference win and in, then they blunder 2 games this coming season or further, and they're not in a conference. I don't see Notre Dame in. Especially if they lose to Northern Illinois again, and then they end up losing to, say, Michigan. Or, like Carlos is alluding to, they're going to lose to Miami in the first week, and then they have some jump change game that they lose again. They're not seeing the playoff, regardless if it's 12 teams or not.
Yeah.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see what college football does with the seeding process. I think 12 teams is the sweet spot for teams, but how they seed them in those 12 spots should be interesting to see what adjustments that they make. But I mean, Notre Dame, they still got Love coming back. Like, say they're just losing. They're losing key pieces at each defensive level, which will hurt them. And like you say, and they're losing Al Golden, or they've already lost Al Golden. But
yeah,
it'll be like a normal Notre Dame year. They'll lose, I think, a couple games next year. They'll be in that hunt. There'll be that question, probably an at-large bid, and
what helped them was making the Natty this year. So there's that.
Yeah, it did help. It helped that they had a nice run in the playoffs there.
Yeah. Yeah, well, let us know down there in the comment section how you guys think that both of these teams are going to stack up next year. Are they going to be able to repeat? Are they the new destiny? Is Ohio State Buckeyes back and they're just going to run the show for the next couple of years, or is it just going to be this back and forth thing that we've been seeing the past couple of years, to be honest with you? So, but let us know down there in the comments. And hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Follow us on all of our social media. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. We are on X as well. And, join us next Thursday because we're going to be diving into, what's going to be going on and our predictions for the transfer portal. We're going to dive a little bit more into the draft. We're going to go into our draft series. If you guys have been with us, for the last year, that last off season we dove into, we kind of broke down each position and we kind of looked at, the top prospects going into that year's draft. So we're going to do the same thing this year. So stay with us this off season. We appreciate you guys. And until next Thursday.
The Buckeye sticker looks like marijuana. Beard Zone out.